Welcome back to MVM, the show where we talk about all things board game related. Today we're excited to bring you a Kickstarter preview. This one is for Mobster Metropolis from Stormakten production. It is a 2 to 4 player strategic Euro game with a lot of different mechanics in it.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to put this game into any one category. While it may seem like an area control game, like a mobster game might, you're actually going to be putting things all over the board and building a territory, really.
Yep. So, as we say with any of the games that we cover on Kickstarter, this is very much a prototype version of the game. A lot of the components will change. Some of the art will change. Obviously, we have some 3D components that will change before production. If you're interested in the game, make sure you guys go to the Kickstarter page and check it out. Having said that, let's talk about what we do have in front of us. In the center of the table, you have a game board, and on this game board, you have a number of different locations. It's broken up by a grid of 3x3 territories. Each of these territories is called a specific district. On these districts, you have random tiles that we place that kind of gives an idea or a name to that specific district. The idea is that you're wanting to control these with your turf in order to gain investment or money back from them.
Yeah, you're basically going to be building turfs out on the board throughout the game, and these turfs come in all different shapes and sizes. There are brothels, there are warehouses, there are distilleries. You're going to put these out there to, like Jeremy said, build income throughout the game and your reputation.
Also on the game board, on the right-hand side, you have a reputation track. This will kind of empower you to be able to use specific player powers on your card. Also on the left-hand side, you have all the different actions that you're going to take in around, so it's very easy to see how the game runs. In front of you, you're going to have a number of different items that are specific to your player. Each player is going to have a player screen. Behind your player screen, you're going to hide your money and some of your tiles from other players so they don't know how much money you have to spend or which tiles you're going to place on the board. We've taken some of the screens away so you guys can see all the components. Each player is also going to have a number of the Tetris tiles, as David alluded to. These are the tiles that you're going to be placing on the districts. As David said, these are very much like Tetris. There's 1x1s, there's 1x2s, there's L-shaped ones that you're going to be placing onto these locations. Basically, they're your territories, they're your turfs. Also, each player is going to have a specific character. And on this character, you have a number of different things. On the bottom, you're going to house all of your cars. These are the things you're going to be using to do drive-bys. That's how combat's done within the game. And on the left-hand side, you have all of your different player powers. You start off with a very weak one, but the more reputation you gain in the game, the higher the player power you assume.
Yeah, and then another thing you have is an interesting thing, and this is definitely a prototype, but this is going to be a device that you use to scheme during a phase where you're going to be planning your drive-bys. It has letters and numbers on it that correlate to a lot of the spaces on the board so that you can privately plan where you're going to send your cars if you have any. And you also have a number of recruit tokens. These come in 3 different types, and these are going to be people that you hire throughout the game that help you and protect some of your turf.
You have a number of different cards in the game. You have mobster cards and black market cards. These are going to be drawn at very specific stages in the game. They're going to empower you to do a couple different things, either do investments or to be able to help you during combat during the drive-bys. Now, to start the game, as we said, you're randomly going to seed all 9 of these onto the board. These are random districts. Each player is going to take $12 behind their player shield. That's money they're going to be able to use to bring some turfs out early in the game. You're going to take all the turfs that belong to your player color, and then all of your cars are going to be set off to the side. Each player has 5 possible cars that they can use for drive-bys. And then you start the game. So we're going to talk about all the different phases within the game. The very first phase is called the news phase.
Yeah, there are 9 phases, and the first one, like Jeremy said, is the newspaper phase. There are going to be a number of these newspaper pages that you draw at the beginning of the game. This is page 1. There's about 5 or so of these that you can choose from. You do that for each page. Page 1 is always going to be similar. It's going to basically help you seed the board with some legacy tokens. These basically give some bonuses and some other things all spread throughout the city so that as you're building your turfs, you'll be able to claim some of those things.
Yeah, it's basically incentive for you to place your turf in those locations. And again, they're all randomly seeded.
And on subsequent turns or rounds, those newspaper pages are actually going to have a bidding phase of the game where it's going to have a bonus that you can have for that round or maybe an immediate bonus of reputation, money, something like that. Everyone's going to take some of the money behind their shield, put it in their hand, hold it out, and reveal it. At that time, whoever wins is going to take that bonus.
The next thing that happens is the draft. As I said, there's a number of different types of cards here. You have mobster cards and you have black market cards. Each player at the table is going to draw 2 from each of those stacks. Then you start the draft, and you're simply going to pick one of those cards and then pass the cards off to your left. You're going to do that until each player has 4 final cards. But the cards may be a mixture. You may end up with 4 black market cards if you decide you want to draw or draft just those cards.
Yeah, and the next phase is really the meat and potatoes of the game. This is the invest phase, and there's a number of different things you can do during the invest phase. The first one is that you can buy turfs. You're going to be buying a lot of different things in the investment phase, but the turfs are sort of the main part of the game. When you buy a turf, you're going to simply take one of the turfs you want to build, note the money that it costs, you pay for that with the money behind your shield, and then you can place it anywhere on the board that you want, in any orientation, as long as it's not covering up another tile and it's within one of these district grids.
If you go into any of those legendary tokens, of course you're going to grab those and be able to get the bonus from placing on top of these specific locations. You also have 3 other options on this phase. One of them is to place your recruits. As David said, there's 3 different types of recruits. All of these modify very specific actions in the game. When you place these, you're going to go onto the actual street. There's a number of different street locations that surround districts. These are going to give bonuses to the districts that they're adjacent to.
Yeah, they're basically going to help you out in the turfs that you may have placed in a particular district. The next thing you could do, if you want to, is buy a car.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You're going to take one of the cars that's off of your player board and add it to your garage on your player board on the leftmost spot. The first one's going to cost $5. The next one's 5, and then 6, 6, and 7. These are also going to give you a reputation point when you do.
Yep. You will need these cars in order to initiate combat or drive-by through within the course of the game. The last thing that you can do is you can buy black market cards. The cost of each of these cards is dependent upon where you are in the reputation track. It's either going to cost you $3, $4, or $5. When you buy one, you draw 3 from the top, you pick one of them, and then you discard the rest.
Right, and that wraps up the investment phase. At the end of this, everyone's going to have more turfs on the board, you're going to have recruits on the board, you're really going to seed the board for what's to come next, and that is the delegate phase. In the delegate phase, you're going to take a look at first all of your turfs that you have on the board, and you're going to add tokens according to its size. So for instance, one of these single square tokens is going to get one either investment token or income token or a defense token on it. When you do that, you're going to place them, as Jeremy has out here, on the board face down. So no one knows whether he's built up his defense or basically enhanced the income that might generate.
And the reason to do that, to place defense tokens there, basically you're protecting your investment in order to gain money at the end of the round. If you place defense tokens, you're trying to protect against people that are drive-by shooting and trying to steal that money from you.
The other thing you're going to do during this phase is for any recruit that you might have adjacent to a district where you have turf, you're allowed to take a very specific type of token. For dealers and madams, it's going to be income, and for a thug, it's going to be defense. And you place those on a turf in that same district face up. So everyone's going to know what some of the tokens are on your turf.
And you can know that by the faces on that particular piece of territory, that specific ones match up with specific territories.
Yeah, you're basically setting things up for the drive-by, which is coming, but we're not there yet.
So the next thing happens is you get to scheme. For every single one of the cards that are on your player board, you get to basically scheme and decide where you want to send those cards out in order to do a drive-by shooting. To do that, you simply use this dial system in front of you. The dials have both a letter on the left-hand side and a number telling you exactly which district you want to go to and what area within that district. And you're planning this in secret so other people don't know where you're going to go.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you can send cars to enemy turf, or you can send cars to your own turf. If a car is at your own turf, it's going to serve as defense if you're attacked. Obviously, if you send it to another turf, that's going to be for a drive-by.
Yep. Again, you're not going to reveal that until later in the round. The next thing happens is reveal. This is when you're going to reveal all the tokens that you have placed on your specific territories.
Yeah, so all of the tokens will be revealed at this point. Remember, there is 1 or 2 tokens that are going to be on any turf that were already face up from your recruits. But the innate tokens that were from the turf itself are now going to be flipped up. This, in addition to the cars that have driven there from the scheming phase, are going to build up the strength, both the attack strength and the defense strength at any given turf.
Once the reveal is done, you have a police phase. There is a stack of police cards here. You're simply going to reveal the top one, and it's going to either help or punish people that are high, medium, or low on the reputation track.
And after that, it is time for the drive-by. This is the fun, yet take that portion of this game for sure. Like we said, at this point, you're going to have cars, you're going to have tokens, all at various turfs. you're going to, in player turn order, decide what you want to do. And in the drive-by phase, you don't necessarily have to initiate your drive-by. There's 3 different things you can do. The first, of course, is the drive-by. When you initiate your drive-by, you're going to pick a place where you've sent a car, and you're going to reconcile that drive-by. Now, if I send a car there and Jeremy sent a car there, if I reconcile it, he's going to be roped into that as well. So everyone's going to add up all of their strength and or defense, and someone's going to come out on top.
Right.
If the defender wins, he's basically going to protect all the money and income that he had there. If the attacker wins, they're going to be able to take income tokens off of that turf equal to the difference between their strength and defense value.
And the strength can be modified by placing some of your black market cards. Some of these cards will have combat values on them, so you can use those as a one-time effect in order to modify your strength.
Yeah, that's the really exciting part of the drive-by, because everyone's going to choose one card who's in a drive-by situation, hold it out, and flip it over at the same time. Like Jeremy said, a lot of them will enhance a fight, but you might look at a situation and realize there's no way I'm going to win that. So you're not going to waste one of those cards. You might use your unarmed card. Your unarmed card is the only card that, once revealed, is going to come right back into your hand.
Now, if you are able to defeat the player in that location, say you send one of your cards there to do a drive-by and you win, you are going to steal money from that player equal to the difference between your strength and their strength.
And like I said, if the defender wins, they're simply just going to protect all of the money that they had there at that location, which will be taken and collected in the next phase, which is...
Collect.
Exactly.
Now, during this phase, you simply look at the bottom value on your territory. For each one of your investment tokens on there, you are going to collect that much income. You automatically will always collect brown income. So if this ended the case and this was the final result here and no one stole any of my investment tokens, I would collect 2 plus another 3, so I'd collect $5 at the end of the round.
Right, so you can kind of see how this works. You might want to put a lot of income tokens on a turf, hoping that it doesn't get attacked or hoping that you can defend it to make more of that money, because it's all about the money cycle. You get a lot of money, you buy more turfs, put them out on the board, rinse and repeat. And then at the end of the round, there's going to be a cleanup phase. At this point, you're going to take not everything off the board, but you're going to take any of the income and defense tokens off of the board. Mostly the only thing that's going to stay are your turfs, of course, and your recruits that are out on the board.
Now remember, a lot of this is modified by card play and the districts here. Each of these districts have an inherent ability to them, either helping with placing new turfs in those locations. They can modify combat. They can modify the amount of investment that you get from the turfs in there. So you always have to be aware of the different areas that those combats take place in.
Yeah, it can't be overstated how different and variable a lot of these district tokens are. They really bring a lot of flavor to the game.
So at the end of 5 rounds, you're simply going to tally up all the reputation. Whoever has the most reputation is going to win the game. However, the game is really about collecting money and investment. So as much money as you have divided by 5 equals how many extra reputation you get at the end of the game.
Yeah, and once you've added that reputation, like Jeremy said, the person with the highest reputation wins the game. There's a number of different tiebreakers depending on how much turf you have out, how many cars you've bought, things like that. But the highest reputation wins the day.
As we said, it's very hard to compare this with anything else. It's not really an area control. It's definitely a strategy Euro game, but there's a lot of different aspects on how you want to place your different turfs out, where you want to place them, how you want to approach combat, if you want to go less aggressive and try to just get a lot of money through the course of the game, if you want to go super aggressive against someone else and steal the money that they're capturing with their specific turfs. A lot of options.
Yeah, and it also has a timing element too, particularly when the drive-by phase is happening. Like I said, you might rope other people into the drive-by phase before they're ready for the drive-by phase. Some people might have planned to play a card before they did their drive-by. But if I went there first and I initiate it, guess what? They're in it.
Yeah, and there's some bluffing too as well. By placing these tokens on the board, you're not really sure when you plan or you scheme out where they're going to have defense tokens. So you could be attacking places that are heavily defended and you just don't know until that happens. Plus, you're not quite sure ever what kind of black market cards they have in their hand to play against you.
Yeah, definitely the bluffing plays a role. When those tokens are put out on the board, it also kind of, you can do so to entice people to maybe come there, or maybe act like you're defending really heavily so that they won't come there, only to reveal that it's extra income in the collection phase.
So guys, that is Mobster Metropolis. It is out on Kickstarter right now. If you guys have any questions about it, make them in the comments below. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, everything else that we do, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Season 2 of Man vs. Meeple is sponsored in part by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.